Good morning and welcome to Unity in the Olympics. Before we begin, we'd like to remind everyone that masking is optional and your choice is honored. For the safety of our community, should you feel unwell or are at elevated risk, please be aware that we offer online options to join our service live on Zoom or posted later in the week on YouTube. For those of you joining us today on Zoom, we ask that you please ensure that you have turned off your microphone and camera. For those of us here in the room, please turn off your cell phone or place it in meditation mode or silence. Thank you so much. And now, let the celebration begin.
I went to the restroom and muted myself, but I muted myself for the restroom, so that was the important part. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. Let's do love is my source. Love is my power, love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. Joy is my source, joy is my power, joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. Let's do God. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. One more time. God gives me everything I need. Welcome. Welcome to the Unity of the Olympics. What a beautiful day. And I'll tell you what, in the Northwest, I say that every morning because no matter what it's like outside, it is a beautiful, beautiful day. So we have Declaration of Faith. Go ahead and come on up.
Hello. Okay, I'm used to the other one, like Cindy has on. Good morning. I'm Charlotte Coachman, and I'm your celebration host for today. And on behalf of Unity in the Olympics in Port Angeles, Washington, I welcome you to our Sunday service and our celebration of today. Tia Stitzel will be serving as our prayer chaplain this morning, and she will be available after the service for anyone seeking a prayer partner. Our audiovisual team is made up of Merlin Fisher and Bill Evans, and online we are assisted by Tim West on Zoom. Our ministry and music coordinator, V.A. Huffman, is off in Portugal. Yay! He's drinking wine and touring ancient churches in no particular order, he says. So this morning we welcome Cindy Akana, who is going to share her music, but she already has. Thank you so much. And the message today, Cindy is a singer-songwriter and has recorded 3 CDs of original songs. She also has 2 theological degrees and uses her training to inspire individuals and spiritual communities to live more freely, boldly, and lovingly. Cindy loves her day job where she teaches career-focused classes at an alternative high school. Wow, wonderful, in Seattle. But she especially enjoys her free time at her home in Anderson Island and playing on the water. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us today. We especially welcome those of you joining us online. It's wonderful to have you here in this beautiful building, but also our online presence is important too, and we are so grateful for all of you. You are, as we all are, in the right and perfect place at the right and perfect time. And for me, this is like, wow. I personally love doing this particular part of it's kind of more, the words have changed over the years, but celebration hosts seem to fit us right now. And it is a celebration, and you guys are all a part of that celebration. And it's wonderful to have you here. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And so onward, our declaration of faith. And now let's say our declaration of faith together. There is only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life. God, the good, omnipotent. Oh, I love that word. Omnipotent. It's a beautiful word. And let us bless our children. We are blessed now to have young people in the crowd, yay. And also, but we have this little kid in here. Our little child is in here, inside of us. So we're going to bless those here, and we're going to bless ourselves by saying our children's blessing. And that is, we love you,
We bless you.
we truly appreciate you, just the way you are, and we behold the Christ in you.
This is an original song called Release and Breathe, and I want you to, I'm going to go through the chorus, and then I'm going to have you sing along with me, and then I'll do the verses. Release, release, release and breathe when it does not serve you well. Release, release, release and breathe when it does not serve you well. Try with me. Release, release, release and breathe when it does not serve you well. Release, release, release and breathe when it does not serve you well. Let go of the hatred that binds a broken heart. It may not serve you well. Let go of the madness that rips people apart. It may not serve you well. Join me. Release, release, release and breathe when it does not serve you well. Release, release, release and breathe when it does not serve you well. Let go of the anguish that keeps you all alone. It may not serve you well. Let go of the smugness that turns a heart to stone. It may not serve you well. Release, release, release and breathe when it does not serve you well. Release, release, release and breathe when it does not serve you well. Does not serve, does not serve, does not serve you well.
I'm Tia, your prayer chaplain for the day, and we're going to start with a nice, beautiful prayer. Sweet Spirit. Every one of us is a sweet spirit, and we're connected by sweet spirit. Our faith is the anchor that keeps us secure in our awareness of you. While the waves of life may feel choppy and the winds of change swirl all around us, help us remain calm, steadfast in that faith that you, God, are within and all around us through every season of life. Our minds and hearts are calm as we let go of any needs or concerns and feel the deep peace that you restore to us. As we release our worries and troubles, we believe in the absolute goodness of all that is given through you. We affirm that we move through life with such peace that surpasses all understanding, and a joy that we are always moving in the direction good. We are grateful for your presence. May we always pay attention to what you whisper to us, your timing, your suggestions, your divine guidance in everything that you do. May we always follow in Jesus' footsteps in trusting you completely. And we find joy in those who share you with us. Thank you for this blessed week. And you're always invited to be with us always. Amen. And now, if you'll say the Lord's Prayer with me, and you can say this with us, or you can hold silence and do your own prayer. So now repeat with me. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from error. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. And now it's for the Daily Word. The Daily Word is a bi-monthly magazine published by Unity since 1924. It offers inspiration and practical teachings to all people of all faiths through daily affirmation messages, prayer articles, and spiritual poetry. You can subscribe online at dailyword.com or purchase a physical copy here located in the kitchen area of our church. The word for today is joy. And who do we think of when we think of joy? Yeah. And the affirmation is, and you can say this with me, I delight in simple joys. Joy, it has been said, comes more from wanting what we have than from having what we want. Reflecting on this thought, I embrace the simple joys that this day offers. I enjoy my morning coffee or tea, savoring that flavor and the fragrance, walking through my neighborhood, and I greet my friends. I smile at people I have not met yet and enjoy the fresh air. I find satisfaction in taking care of my home, working my job, and helping my friends. Even if I am not with them today, I feel joy as I think about the connection that I have with those people. I know joy whenever I look for possibilities rather than focusing on problems. My greatest joy is my awareness of that wherever I am and whatever I'm doing, God is always with me. Now let's affirm, I delight in simple joys. Back to you, Cindy.
I'm going to stay kind of in that one area because I had hip replacement surgery 6 weeks ago. So I'm on my way to recovery, which is great. So, like they mentioned, I work at an alternative high school, so it's a smaller school. And one of our African American students jumped onto the school intercom one day and just started talking without permission, right? But he got caught quickly because the intercom was right outside the principal's office. And he was immediately reprimanded. And I heard there was some talk that he might be, placed on detention for a bit because of it. And just go, oh, there's one of those deviant or defiant students that gets in there, or they, trying to get negative attention, whatever it is. And, it's not a really interesting story, to tell you the truth, but I want to compare it to another story that's similar, okay? So this is Trayvon, one of my leadership students. Funny guy, really, really liked by other students. He really is a natural leader as well as a leader. He's working at the Boys and Girls Club, and does a lot of stuff for them. So he's highly respected. And his girlfriend at the time was working in the front office. So she has an internship in the front office. So he was walking through there and he was chatting with her. And I'm in my room. And all of a sudden over the intercom, I hear, "Hello, it's me." And I crack up because that's like the line of Adele song, right? That's the beginning. And I know it's Trey. And I just start cracking up because I think here's my African-American student who's all into hip hop and pop and blue R&B and all that stuff, and here he is knowing an Adele song and says this over the intercom. And I just lose it, right? I think this is like humor at the best. And so when I see him, I told him, I go, "That was just hilarious," right? And he smiles. And to me, this kind of tells a story about this guy who's a creative, well-liked. He thought this through. He's trying to entertain his students and stuff. And so I look at these two stories and say, what's the difference between these two? Absolutely nothing. It's the same person. It's the same situation. The only thing different was the perspective. I know Trey, and the principal doesn't necessarily know Trey. He sees him from a different light, right? So here's this same exact situation, but how did you look at it? Tells a different story, right? And so I knew that he had gotten in trouble. So when I saw him, I'm like, "Trey, I got to tell you, that's hysterical." I mean, I wanted to kind of undo the punishment part because I didn't think he deserved it because of the circumstances. I mean, you can say to him, "Trey, that's not cool because that's for emergencies," or whatever. You have a little conversation with him, but there's no reason to turn it into some huge thing and turn him into this, kind of like bad person that he definitely is not. So it's one incident, but two different stories, two different perspectives that created two different outcomes. So when I talk about cultivating emotional resilience through storytelling, that was just to kind of open up to realize that how you tell a story can make all the difference in the world. So let's look a little bit, though, at emotional resilience. Emotional trauma. Now, what's really cool is a lot of the schools now are training teachers in emotional trauma and how to work with students, because like I work in Seattle area, and huge percents of 70% of our students at our school, it's 100%, are on free and reduced lunch. Just that alone is a trauma thing. Not having enough food is one of those indicators of there's trauma when you have to figure out what you're going to eat that day, right? So a lot of these students, they have, and I'm going to say some things, but we can relate to some of these as well. But in terms of, parents are divorced, or for ourselves, if we go through a divorce, right? Chronic or terminal illnesses in the family, death of loved ones. And as we, especially even as we age, more and more of our loved ones pass away, and it's traumatic. It is very, very traumatic for our students. We lose students every year to gunshots and gun killings every year. Yeah. And I go back and go, "Oh, that was a student of mine 5 years ago," and it's not,
It's very traumatic. You think that in some ways they kind of like, well, we're used to it, but it's trauma inducing. Lack of housing. I'm going to say some things maybe we've dealt with, like in terms of war, going off to war, having loved ones go off to war, surviving war and coming back. I have lupus, and with the arthritis that comes from that, I had knee surgery last year, hip surgery this year. So I have a lot of chronic pain. I totally get that, right? But you realize that how, if you're aware of it, how draining that can be, and how tiring it can get, right? So one of the things about emotional trauma is it impacts our brain, and it limits the ability to take in information. With my students, we realize it limits their ability to even get an education, because when they're on high alert, my mom's high this morning when I left, she yelled at me. I don't know what she's going to be like when I get home. Our kids that are homeless, that are taking a taxi from 35 minutes away just to come to the school so we let them stay at the school so they can have some consistency. So they get there, and if you're like, okay, here's what we're doing for lessons and what's wrong with you, get busy. No, we come alongside them and say, hey, so how you feeling today? What's going on? And we don't expect them to tell us all the stuff that's going on, because that's personal. If they want to, that's fine. But it's like, I just go like, how are you feeling today? And they all know that they can have a day off. And if it's a constant where they need more than one day off, then I'm going to hook them up with the counselor. But they all know in my class they can have one day off each session. And I have I don't know if I can say this on Zoom, but pissed off pass. I have a pissed off pass hanging in the back of the classroom, so that if kids are really just like, oh, I can't handle it, they can get up, grab that pass and go out, right? And they don't have to stop and explain themselves or ask for a pass. But they also know part of that is that they have to come back at some point and chat with me, and we have to work it out, right? What's going on. So, but that they don't have to, you reduce the chances of them losing it in class, which is what we're trying to do. So we're very aware of those things. Now, that's trauma. We all face trauma. With the pandemic, there was trauma involved in the pandemic from the isolation that we had for so long. I had friends who lived alone in an apartment, and they're a teacher, and then they're on Zoom, and oh my gosh, just to hear the stories. I felt really fortunate because I just moved to Anderson Island right before the pandemic, so I had 2 acres of nobody, and I could go out and play in my yard. And so I didn't really, that first year I did pretty well. It was the second year when we were back in the classroom all wearing masks and on Zoom, and that it was much more traumatizing for me. But trauma is not a bad thing. We got to get away from judging things like, oh, that's a good or bad. No, it just happens. Trauma happens. And it's what you do with it. And that's why we talk about emotional resilience. And what's wonderful about our kids is what's wonderful that they get to develop emotional resilience at such a young age. And there's so many of us that have, like, I had a really beautiful childhood. There wasn't much trauma going on, right? And so I didn't even, by the time, what was it, when I got divorced in my 40s at some point, oh my God, that was like the first real trauma that I had. And it was just like, it just wreaked havoc in my life. And I didn't have a bunch of skills to even know what to do with that stuff. So I'm grateful that my students are learning those skills. I'm not grateful that they're having to have those experiences so young. So emotional resilience, though, is overcoming emotional trauma so that it no longer paralyzes you or restricts your ability to act and interact with others. So it doesn't mean putting it in the closet or ignoring it. No, it's just being able to overcome it in a way so you're no longer paralyzed by it. And one of the ways to overcome emotional trauma is actually through storytelling. Stories do a couple wonderful things when we share them. And some of this stuff I'm pulling from a book called Onward by Elena Aguilar. Fantastic book. But storytelling, telling stories validates your experience. When you can own a story, it's like, yes, this is my experience. You are claiming it, you are owning it. I even think of it as the story of slavery, right? We tell that story, or students tell that story, or people from that have historically maybe been enslaved tell that story because they're claiming an experience that they had, and they're owning it, and it validates it, right? We don't want to minimize something. The second thing is it helps us work through the experience to heal and move forward, because if we don't even claim it, we can't really work with it. So once we've claimed it, then we can start to work with it and move through it. Doesn't make it disappear, but it helps us move through it. And then the third thing storytelling does is it helps us connect with others, right? When you tell a story, you're talking to people, right? And that's community building. So it brings you together with others. So when someone's telling you a story, though, the best thing you to do is you listen to the story and you ask clarifying questions. You accept it. You don't go, oh, no, that was not your experience. Oh, that's not right. You shouldn't think of it that way. No, that's where we have to become listeners and listen to those stories and not tell them to change their story, right? But how you tell your story, like I said at the beginning, is going to be important, right? Very, very important. So there are life-depleting stories. Woe is me, and we can be woeing, right? We can be woeful or whatever, right? But when the story becomes over and over repeated, woe is me, I was a victim, I can't do anything about it, it's never gonna get better. And so when we sit in that, that's a life-depleting story. Again, I'm not saying don't say what happened, it's the way you tell the story, right? And you stay in that victim mode. This kind of storytelling can create depression, feelings of shame, feelings of defeat, right? Purposelessness. You become the broken record, right? And there's no learning, there's no movement, there's no releasing of the story toxins, right? You get stuck in your painful story and you are unable to heal. I don't want to focus much on that. I just want to, we've all been there at some point, right? And so again, I'm not going to say that's a bad thing. It's part of life. But when we can realize and say, hey, wait a sec, I'm telling the same story so that I can't move forward, that becomes a life-depleting story. So how can I change my story? How do I make it an empowering story so that I can work through the harm, I can release the pain and move forward? And so empowering stories, you'll know they're there because you're fostering optimism. I didn't say that right, but you know what I meant. You're restoring resilience and strength. And this is where you tell your story from this aspect. And your story becomes a message of growth. It's a lesson learned. Maybe you include that now. This is what I learned from this. This is a change in attitude, or a change in perspective, or a call to action. And in my song, Shift Happens, which I'm gonna play here next, is shift, said it right, shift happens. We are reminded that what we focus on impacts how we experience the world. So let me just change my screen here for a second. Yes, shift happens. "40 days in the wilderness, trekking on my own. Time to think and to reflect on what has come and gone. And if I dare to hear the joy of a songbird, not my whiny voice, shift happens. Zoom, zoom-buddy boom. Shift happens. Zoom, zoom-buddy boom. There are times you bicker with your friends, a boss or a spouse. When it's too much, giving in feels like the only out. And I don't know what you've been told, but by simply giving up control, shift happens. Zoom, zoom-buddy boom. Shift happens. Zoom, zoom-buddy boom. Shift, shift, shift to a table with a view. Shift, shift, shift into someone else's shoes. Shift, shift, shift to the kitchen from the lounge. Shift, shift, shift from a gavel to a plow. Shift, shift, shift from a gavel to a plow.
Shift to the left or to the right, get a different point of view. Shift on down or into overdrive, been same old toodaloo. And I don't care which way you turn, 'cause either way you're gonna learn. Shift happens, well, zoom, zoom, buddy, boom. Shift happens, zoom, zoom, buddy, boom. Yes, shift, shift, shift to a table with a view. Shift, shift, shift into someone else's shoes. Shift, shift, shift to the kitchen from the lounge. Shift, shift, shift from a gavel to a plow. Shift, shift, shift from a gavel to a plow. Shift happens. There we go. I love these things, but I hate these things too at the same time. So yeah, how we look at something can make all the difference in the world. We can have the same, we can have a hard experience, but how we look at it, right, can make all the difference. So how do we create empowering stories? And the first thing I think is to, I love this because Elena Aguilera talks about this in her book Onward, that there are life-depleting stories are made from recognizing, or to get over life-depleting stories, is to recognize old patterns of distorted thinking. Now, none of us have distorted thinking, I'm sure, right? We all just are sharp on the mind. Yeah, I see someone going over there going, and then there's other people going, yeah, Ray, you know, the person next to you. So I want to just pick 3 of the ones she looks at. And one of them is jumping to conclusions, right? We hear something and we jump to, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's going to happen, right? And so we don't even have the full story, but we just jump. And I think that happened with Trey. They didn't see a whole picture, right? It was like just jumping to conclusions. Oh my gosh, he's just trying to, you know, do things he shouldn't be doing, right? But I think one of the best ways to get away from that is to ask questions. When someone's talking and you find yourself going, that's the best time to say, take a breath, ask questions. Find out more about what they're talking about. And when you find out more, you start to actually see it more from their perspective instead of yours, right? Because then you're not being defensive. You're saying, hey, tell me more about that. Why are you going to do that? Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that before. And you're going to find out that you actually probably relax a lot just by asking more stories instead of jumping to conclusions. Now, I know none of us do this, the catastrophizing. No. Seeing the worst case scenario no matter what. Well, what if? This will never work. This is horrible. We've tried that before. It never works, right? Well, when you do this, we know it makes things much worse than there ever are, right? And it's funny when you watch, if you're outside and you're watching it happen, you're like, that's a big deal. Now, and for me, there was a moment when I was in my 50s, I was actually homeless. So I had to move out of my apartment, and I crashed with my son into a friend's house. And according to Washington State, that's homeless. I did have a place to sleep, but it wasn't my own place. We were crashing and stuff like that. And I was on food stamps, and you know, I looked at all that stuff, and then with the cancer I had, and the lupus, and the divorce, and then having to go in bankruptcy, I put all those things together that look at what I've thrived through, right? Here I am today to stand that, and yet, so when I'll be someplace at school and something will happen, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God! And I'm like, yeah, they haven't been out much, have they? Because like, you're gonna make this a big deal that, you know, it's like, this is so much work. And I'm like, yeah, but you're paid to work. I mean, you don't have to stay after. They're just giving you something to do, but it's so much work. Yeah, good, okay. Thank goodness you have a job, right? So I don't want to make fun of that, but it is kind of funny when you realize sometimes people make such a big deal out of something that never has to be, right? But when you do that, it raises your emotional level so high that you cannot be rational. You cannot problem solve because the emotions are too high. So again, you're in this, you know, you flipped your lid and you're like, oh, like a, I don't know, what is that? Like you think of like the little quails that run across the street. Oh my God. You know, when they run, you just think that they're, you know, flip their lid. That's the image I have. And life, it looks like such a mess, but it really isn't.
It's like one situation that isn't like how you want it to be. And you've turned it into like chaos. So again, what do you do with that? One thing we can all do is just breathe and release, right? Do something to relax. You know, your first action doesn't have to be catastrophe. At first could be breathing and relaxing, taking it in, and then determining what to do with it. Recognize it is not as bad as you think it is, and tell yourself the situation is manageable. That's that self-talk, right? Using self-talk to slow yourself down, to calm yourself down. And all of a sudden you realize, oh, doesn't mean you have to like the situation. I mean, that is not what I'm saying. But it's how you're going to handle it, right? The third one, I picked these because I can relate to them too. Feelings are facts. I feel horrible about this, so it must be horrible. And we turn our feelings like, oh, I'm afraid of this, so this must be something we should be afraid of, right? So because of the feelings that we have, we connect them. It's like, oh, this is the way it is. The feelings are the facts. But in reality, feelings are simply our signals telling us something about ourselves. I taught anger management in Hawaii for a couple years to juveniles coming from family court. And we would talk about anger. Anger is just a signal. It's telling you that you don't like something. You don't want something a certain way. So same with in all of your feelings. If you're afraid, it's telling you that you are afraid of something. It's not telling you that that is something you should be afraid of. Do you see the difference? I'm afraid of this, but it doesn't mean that is something I need to be afraid of. If I am feeling, I want to make sure I don't miss my examples. If I'm feeling uncomfortable, it's telling me that I don't feel good in this situation, but it's not telling me that the people out there hate me. I mean, I could do that. I feel like I'm feeling so uncomfortable. They don't like me. But that doesn't mean that the people don't like what you're doing, right? So there's different ways of changing your feelings around to realizing they're just feelings. And so own it. You know, oh, this is telling me something about me. What's this telling me? Oh, there's my insecurities again. Or, you know, there's my irrational, you know, fears again, right? You know, and it's like, oh, silly me, I get it, right? And then just say, but that doesn't make this situation do this. And again, if we get caught into that, again, we can become paralyzed and not move forward. So besides recognizing old patterns of distorted thinking, I'm going to do three things. And the second one is set some intentions. Determine what you want the end result to be. Have that in mind. What's the end result? What do you want to get from your story? Do you want to get relief, validation, personal power? What is it that you want to get? You can also ask the question is, what do you want others to get from your story? Because remember, when you're storytelling, you are sharing with somebody else. What do you want them to get from it? Do you want them to feel doom and gloom and jump on board with you for the doom and gloom? Or do you want them to say, oh, my gosh, I'm inspired. I'm going to go out and do this. You're calling them to action. So during one of the darkest times of my life, this is after my divorce, I wrote a song called Wings on Wind that shared and embraced the pain that I was going through, but it also included a call to something better, to a better place that I wanted to reach. And so I sang the song a lot. I just sit in my living room and play the song. It was just for me. You know, I wrote the song for me. I'm playing it and I'm singing it because it helped me validate the feelings and the emotions, but it also helped me separate, saying, this is not where I'm stuck. This is where I am, but this is what I'm going to move towards. I'm going to believe this, that the whole thing is that using some scriptures that God, you know, values us like better than the flowers of the field, right? There's that reference there. And so several references where you're realizing that, okay, that my value and where I'm going to be is this out here and not staying right here, but I'm going through this right now because it's a difficult time. And I have to say that it worked. It did a lot for me. Because I could sit down and play that song, and when I was through with the song, if I hadn't shifted, I would play it again. And then usually there was a shift in my thinking, and I was able to get up and move forward step after step to do what I needed to do, you know, for my life, right? But But when I got through that period, now I recorded, it's on one of my CDs, and it's a beautiful song. I absolutely love it. I did it once at a prison. And I said, now when I sing it for others. Because I want, if there's somebody out there that's feeling that can own that and can just say, okay, that validates their experience, but I'm also giving them something that they also can say, hey, I'm more than this. I can be more than this. I am more than this, and I can move through this, right? So just being able to set your intentions of what you want. That's a lot of my songwriting. If you listen to my songs, there's always, sometimes people go, oh, your songs are so depressing. I'm like, hey, because you didn't let my parents put on my latest CD, and they put on a song, and I'm going to do Call It Good. And they're like, oh, we couldn't listen to the rest of the CD. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't get past the verse, right? When you get to the chorus, it's all about how you shift, right? It wasn't shift tap, it was another one. But it's just, it's like, yes, but some people have a hard time sitting with the pain, and I get that. But there's so many, they're like, oh, you're validating my pain, but I don't have to stay here. And so that's kind of what that's about. So the third thing, okay, we talked about identifying the old patterns of distorted thinking, and then intentions of what you want to happen. So the third thing is spin your story. Add a positive twist. You choose what you want to tell. You can change the focus, right, of something being positive. Add what you're learning from it. So this is what I did, but this is what I learned. This is what happened, but this is how I grew. This is how I overcame this challenge, right? This is why this was helpful for me, right? And so again, I like to get away from that theology about just, everything's good. Well, everything is in a sense, but I don't want to say, oh, that I still thank good for that. That was just the positive. No, it was a sucky thing. But I'm grateful that I had the wherewithal to deal with it, to handle it, that I had a community that surrounded me, so I can move forward, right? So it's not, we have to go around, praising God for everything. It's like, well, yeah, but maybe you're praising it for the fact that you're learning something from it, or praising it that God is with you in it, right? There's ways to look at that instead of just saying, oh, I'm glad this crap is happening. No, we're not there. We're not there. I talk like that because I work with high school students, so sorry, I'm not offended. And the other part of spinning the old story, okay, one is changing the focus, but the other part is just let the old stories go. Do you have to hang on to them? I have a friend who still has the same old story, and I let him continue to tell it because that's where he is, right? I'm not going to say anything to him that way, but he just hangs on to it because somehow he needs it still, But you have to ask yourself, is it serving you well, like in Release and Breathe, right? Is it serving you well? Do you need that to hang on to that story? So just in closing, I'm going to say that we can overcome emotional trauma by telling empowering stories that aid us in our healing, right? They help us to adjust. They help us accept, love ourselves, and they help us move on when we're ready. So with that, I'm going to close with a song called Call It Good. I just said, don't call it good, right? It's called Call It Good. If you feel sad at the beginning, just remember it gets better, right? So don't panic. I didn't think my vows would be for nothing, but after 15 years, that's how it felt. He packed his bags, hit the road, and he left me standing in a house too big, in shoes that didn't fit, and with a heart overwhelmed. Tragic story, like Shakespeare might cast, but it doesn't say who I am or what I'm worth. I'm not my past. Shrug off the jury and forgive myself, 'cause I know I did the best I could. I put the blame back on the shelf and called it good. There are those who spend a lifetime remembering everything that ever went wrong. When I was 5, and then again at 12 and 17, I was ignored, but who's keeping score? And so the song goes on and on, a tragic story, like Shakespeare might cast, but it doesn't say who you are or what you're worth. You're not your past. Shrug off the jury and forgive yourself. No, you did the best you could, and put that blame back on the shelf and call it good. 'Cause like a river, we can move ahead if we jump from our shipwrecks. Broken bones and battered hearts never have to dictate what comes next. A tragic story, like Shakespeare might cast. It doesn't say who you are or what you're worth. You're not your past. Shrug off the jury and forgive yourself. No, you did the best you could, and put that blame back on the shelf and call it good. Call it good. Call it good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful music and great lesson. Thank you. Your stories are wonderful. Okay, a few pages on here. We have a few announcements this morning. Monday midday meditation. Anybody know what that is? Hands up, hands up. Is tomorrow at 12 noon on Zoom only. Check your email tomorrow morning for a link to join us on Zoom. Oak Ridge University will be presenting its autumn intensive entitled The Mountaintop Experience here at UITO from Wednesday, October 26th through Saturday, October 29th. And our own Judith Coates is founder and executive director of Oak Ridge, and she has done for 31 years. We will be channeling Jeshua Ben Joseph as well as other Holy Family members over the 4-day experience. For more information, check their website at oakridgeuniversity.org or see Judith or Eva or Bill, and they can give you more scoop on the story. Okay, next Sunday, October 23rd, again, Cindy will be back with us. Yay! Joined us again to lead us in celebration service with her wonderful message and music. And we are thrilled to have her share with us again. And so thank you so much, Cindy. Please join us in the fellowship room immediately following the service and for fellowship or coffee and delicious food. And where's Star? Would you like to tell them what they have coming?
Today is Toscana soup and a vegetarian egg leaf.
Okay, wonderful.
And garlic bread.
And garlic bread. Don't forget the garlic bread. There are no mints, so, just enjoy your garlic. If you'd like to bring a dish in the future, please see Star Pittman after the service to make arrangements. She usually tries to bring soup every Sunday, even unless she's not here around, so we can all chip in and help her out. And she usually knows ahead of time, so please see Star. And now it's time for oh yeah, did I forget the offering? I did.
We cannot forget
we
the
just
offering.
misplaced it. Okay, so we're just moving it on. Our offering. So now it's time for, I went too far, didn't I? Oops. Abundance and affirmation song. Were you going to do a song for our offering?
Oh, I can.
It says
I have the I am blessed part. Yeah.
I am blessed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am blessed. So now it's time for us to take our offerings in our hands if you're going to give it today, and to bless it, and know that it circulates out into our community, out and farther into the world, and then comes back to us as we're promised tenfold. So as we open our hearts today and we bless this that is coming toward us, that wonderful money energy, because that's what it is, then we will send it back out in love with lots more energy to it. So we say together, our offering of love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I give in love. Yes. Okay.
Okay, I think the lyrics, did you guys have the lyrics for this? Okay, it's so join along if you know it. It's called I Am Blessed. I am blessed, I am blessed, every day of my life. I am blessed, 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 blessed. When I wake up in the morning or lay my head to rest, I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed, every day of my life. I am blessed, 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 blessed. When I wake up in the morning or lay my head to rest, I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed, every day of my life. I am blessed, 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 blessed. When I wake up in the morning or lay my head to rest, I am blessed. Repeat. I am blessed. One more time. I am blessed. I am blessed.
Gar. Thank you. Thank you very much. With that blessing energy, let's all put our focus on the abundance that we are, the abundance that we share, and that we all are a circle. And so as it goes out, it comes back. And it needs you in that circle. So we bless these offerings, and may they do your work, God, as they go out into the community and they multiply and help those in need, and to be searched out into this world with love attached. We want that love attached. We want that healing throughout the world and in every little corner, wherever they are and wherever they need. And with these prayers, they are already answered before they're even received. We pray for these for 30 days, and then we send them silent unity for 30 more days. Prayers are powerful. God is powerful. The highest good for all. Amen.
Amen. Now it's time for our circle. And as we circle, we're going to go ahead and get in our circle. And then Reverend Donna is going to do an animal blessing today. And with her special visitor that she brought with her, Rosie.
Yeah. So this is an opportunity once a year. It's a tradition in many churches, and Muslim. As we saw earlier with the sunshine and Rosie, they often want to have words with one another. So it's not something I usually do on a Sunday morning, but I like to give you something so that you can go home and you can be with your pet, either present or past pets. You know, you can go into meditation, you can bring in pets that you've had in the past, and so that you can talk with them, pray with them. So that's what this is. This is in your bulletin, so you can put this with you. This is Miss Rosie, 69, part Yorkie and part Brussels Spriton. Yeah. Terrier, 100%. Yes. Terrier, 100%. So let's just hold Rosie as the representative to all of the animals, not just cats, not just cats and dogs and birds and fish and things that we are used to, but all of the animals, the deer that we saw this morning when we were in church, and other wild animals, frogs, people. Okay. Some people remind us of animals. So, we focus on you this week because you are our representative today. And I say to you, hello, my furry little one. Today we come before our Father and Mother God to bless and thank you and all animals for the unconditional love which Animal Kind shares with you. Your love and attention bring great joy to our living. You are our friends, our companion, and our family. This blessing is for each of you, for your good health, for your great joy, and for your clear wisdom. Today you represent all animals on the planet, and they receive through you this holy blessing, divine love. Amen. So this is our closing circle. This is our opportunity to share a joy, share a request for a prayer with the group so that we can support one another. We all enjoyed your birthday.
Thank you for doing it today. Thank you for everyone that came, all the beautiful colors, flowers, and all the gifts I got. And I enjoyed every minute of that night. And my daughter, I can't believe she did all the things for that party. And I owe you an apology for not coming over and visiting with you. But I was kind of like a queen, and I every time I thought about coming over, somebody want to take a picture of me and stuff like that. So I apologize for not visiting with you guys more that night. But I just enjoyed every single minute of it, and I love each and every one of you.
Our highlight was seeing you get out there and dance rock and roll.
And your sister.
And your sister,
Oh,
yes,
that
of
was
course,
so
yes.
amazing.
Yeah, for
She
her
did
stand up.
home care in the fort,
Yeah.
but they said she could come.
Yeah, when they
And it was so wonderful. She could get up and like she was dancing.
Yeah, no, that was
That
great.
was
That was
wonderful. She was so happy about it. Well, you remember your dancing, our dancing queen.
Dancing queen.
Yes, I love to dance with my husband. Any other celebrations that we want to share?
I'm grateful to see Sandra.
Thank you.
I'm glad to be back.
Continue to put my 4 kids in the circle for help. Claire, thank you.
Yeah.
Ask for a prayer to be said to a man that his name is Patrick. restored.
And we tell my student, Sarah and I went to the Easter Fair with Unity and Port Townsend, and they were really happy to see us. And the one who was connected with us, they invited us to come over, hopefully for a concert with VA. And that was, yeah, a really sweet connection. And the more that we moved out there, other follow brothers and sisters. Especially like the there's so often as soon as I said, we really love it. Big hugs.
Well, I'd like to say first thank you, and also for listening. But the board meeting was last week, and we have two board members. One of them is Celeste, and the other is Susan Miller.
Yes.
So thank you for stepping up and
Yes. Yes.
We had fires calm down too. Air,
Ready for protection?
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us.
The presence